Money, the taboo topic that no one seems to want to talk about. Well, I'll not only talk about it, I'm going to share exactly how much money my channel made in 2021 by breaking down every single income stream down to the last dollar. Not saying it's comfortable, but let's do it. What's up, everybody? I'm Travis, this is Shop Nation, and it's that time of year again. In order to keep the tradition of transparency alive on this channel, I'm going to yet again peel back the curtain and let you take a look at how much money a channel like mine can make, in this case, in 2021. Now, this will be the third income video that I've done. I've done one in 2019, 2020, and now 2021. So if you really want to see kind of a growth trajectory of what the channel has done over the last 3 years, you can go back and watch those other two. But regardless, I'm gonna keep the format very similar to the others so that you can kind of compare and contrast, and we'll go through in detail what each revenue stream is and how much it actually produced. Now, standard disclaimer, this video is in no way an attempt by me to brag or gloat about what my channel is doing. Hopefully at the end of this video, you'll see just how much work goes into actually running a channel like this, and the income generated is a culmination of many years of work. I just wanna make that clear. I think that came through in the last couple of videos. All the comments were overwhelmingly positive, but again, I just feel an obligation to say, I'm not doing this to brag, I'm doing it to share. All right, so the video is actually gonna be broken down in a couple of different sections. The first section is kind of a recap of 2021. How did the channel do? What were the numbers in terms of views, videos, subscribers, all that good stuff? And the only reason I'm doing that is I wanna set a baseline for what the channel is and what it produces. And then we'll move directly into some insights that I found myself having throughout the year. What did I learn? How might it help you? And then finally, we'll get to the income breakdown, which is the reason why you're here. I'll show you exactly how much money my channel made compared to last year, and we'll talk a little bit about each revenue stream that makes up that final number. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with a conclusion, and I'll answer some questions that were asked after my last income video about things that maybe I omitted or things that I should touch on for this year. So 2021 represented for me kind of an experimental year. And here's why. At the end of my 2020 income review video, I talked about sponsorships, specifically on how I might not want to use them in the future. But something began to happen at the beginning of 2021 where I was getting inundated with sponsorship requests at a much higher rate than I was previously getting. So I thought to myself, okay, let's run an experiment. I'll use 2021 as my baseline for whether or not I want to actually pursue sponsorships or not. So I decided to go all in on the sponsorship route, which directly contradicted what I talked about at the end of the 2020 video. I figured if I went all in and maximize the sponsorship dollars, at the end of the year, I could then make an assessment on whether or not I still want to move forward with sponsorship. So that was one of the biggest changes of 2021 versus the previous year. Now, it goes without saying that my focus was still entirely on the quality of the content. I wanted to put out stuff that I thought resonated with you guys and things that I'm passionate about, like making your shop awesome. So that was always the primary focus. But the sponsorship thing was more or less just a strategy for figuring out if I want to do that in the future or not. All right, so let's talk about some stats. In terms of video output, in 2021, I put out 25 videos. And that's compared to the 22 videos I put out in 2020. Whichever year, I kind of have a goal of putting out 2 per month or a total of 26 videos, so I just barely missed that total. And I could have got there by squeezing one more out at the end of December, but I just kind of decided that family time was more important. Next, let's talk about the subscriber count. We ended the year just shy of 171,000 subscribers, which when starting at about 116,000 means we gained about 55,000 subscribers throughout the year, which is awesome. What is interesting here though is that that's actually just about the same amount of subscribers that was gained in 2020. So in terms of a percentage, it's actually a slower growth, but it is what it is. Now, in terms of total views across the channel in 2021, we were at about 4.2 million views. That's compared to 3.8 million views in 2020, and brings the total views for the life of the channel to 10.4 million views. That's a lot. And as we close out 2021, this represents just over a 4-year journey. That's hard to believe. And that's a total of 88 videos uploaded across my channel during that time. Now, as I've stated many times before, view count, subscriber count, view duration, blah, 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 those are all great numbers to look at and can often give you some insights as to how the channel is doing or how you might improve it later. But keep in mind that that's gonna vary a lot based on the type of YouTube channel you're talking about. So if you wanna compare my numbers to the numbers of another channel that's in a different niche, the performance is probably not gonna be quite the same. And it really might not be very useful at all. So I have had a couple of insights over the last year that I want to share. And the first one is in relation to my all-in strategy with sponsorship. And I discovered that I more or less confirmed my hunch that sponsorships might not be worth doing, or at least tying each video to a sponsorship, which creates a lot of stress and burden on me. But there's one caveat. You see, when you're starting on YouTube, you'll take just about any sponsorship that shows up that's willing to give you money to talk on camera. I get it. Keto cat food? Okay. An off-brand security system from China? Yeah. A mail-order bride service from Thailand? Wait, what? Now hopefully you have some sort of guardrails on what you'll take on, but in the early days you gotta pay the bills, so I get it. But after you've worked with enough sponsors, you quickly start feeling like YouTube is a job. You're held to crazy deadlines, video reviews, and sometimes multiple edits to get just the right turn of phrase. It can be exhausting, and it really starts to take away from why we started doing this, which is to have fun and to share your journey. But in that sea of terrible, you will come across some sponsors that are an absolute pleasure to work with. They're brands that align with what you do, and most importantly, the people that work for that brand are reasonable human beings who let you have some creative freedom and don't bug the crap out of you. Now, I've definitely found a couple of those over the past couple of years, and I think one of the biggest revelations for me anyways is that I'm just gonna work with them. I'm now in a position where I don't have to work with everybody, and I can kind of choose who I wanna work with, if I wanna work with anyone at all. So will I make as much money from sponsorships? Nope. Will my life be less stressful as a result? Yes. And for me, that's worth it. Now keep in mind that YouTube, at least for me, represents a side hustle. I still have a full-time job and a family that I think deserves more of my time. And I think one of the easiest ways to cut out stress and time is to maybe cut out a lot of the sponsorships. So that's insight number one. The next realization I made over the past year was that I need help. The Etsy shop side of my business was growing like crazy, and I found myself having to devote a ton of time to running that, answering questions, fulfilling orders, shipping packages, managing inventory. It's a lot. So I stepped aside and let my wife, Corinne, take that on, and it's been a huge help. Now, I'm still involved in the Etsy shop, but Corinne has taken a lot off my plate in terms of time that I can focus on other areas. So the lesson here, I think, for any business owner is that relinquishing control can be hard, but having help is essential to actually growing. I think anyone that eventually takes the leap to get help is very glad they did. Let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is a nutrition company with a daily supplement, AG1, that supports your energy, focus, gut, digestion, and immune health. Delivered in one daily serving, AG1 contains 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's basically for anyone just looking to get healthier. And how easy is this? It's one scoop, or travel packet, 8 ounces of water. That's it. In 2022, do more with less. More for your health, more for your life. And what better way to support your New Year's resolution by using AG1 to give you the energy and immune system support to help you reach your goals. Now, I have a miniature germ factory walking around my house in the form of a 2-year-old, so the health of my immune system is more important than ever. If you get sick more than you'd like, let AG1 supplement that for you. AG1 actually contains vitamin C, zinc, and healing mushrooms to support your immunity. I've personally been using AG1 for several months, and it's become a daily part of my routine. I mix up 1 scoop and some water in the morning and drink it either before or after my workout. Though I will admit it doesn't look like it tastes very good, it actually tastes pretty good. So if you want to take charge of your health this year, get your greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/shopnation to get started on your order. Athletic Greens is going to give my community a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first order. I'm telling you, 1 scoop a day is not very hard, and you know you're giving your body what it needs. Okay, let's talk about a different kind of green. Money. And finally, what probably got you to click on the video to begin with, the income breakdown for my channel for 2021. And again, the reason I'm doing this is because I am just a naturally curious person, and I'm assuming you are too. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you just want to see how this stuff works. I'm just willing to share. I think I owe a lot to the people who watch the channel, and one way I think I can repay you is to scratch the curiosity itch and at least show you how it works. But this is in no way an attempt for me to brag or gloat. I promise. And right off the bat, there's a lot of confusion about making money here on YouTube. People seem to have preconceived notions about how much you can or can't make, and a lot of times are confused just as to how people on YouTube make any money. Well, the short answer is that there are a ton of ways to make money with something like a YouTube channel. And for my channel specifically, I have 4 distinct categories of revenue that contribute to my income. And the first one is goods and merchandise. Pretty much all of this comes through my Etsy shop called the Shop Nation store. This is where I sell primarily digital build plans, but also physical products like shop tools, accessories, and some swag like stickers, magnets, and hats. Now I also have a Teespring store, which is where you can buy a t-shirt or a sweatshirt with the Shop Nation logo on it, but that is a very tiny contribution to this category. The next is affiliate marketing. In short, this is when I have a special account with a company or a website like Amazon that allows me to generate links to products that I can then share with my audience. Those links actually have a special identifier that let the vendor know that they came from a Shop Nation source. And by the way, you can tell if you've clicked on an affiliate link by looking at the very end of the URL for something something like this. Now, if you, the customer, go and purchase an item after following that link, part of the agreement is that that website or company pays me a small commission on that sale. The price to you, the consumer, is exactly the same, whether you got there via an affiliate link or just found it organically. The majority of my affiliate marketing income comes from Amazon, but I do have a couple other small ones that I use as well. The third revenue stream is Google AdSense. You know that ad that you skipped in order to get to this video? Yeah, that's a YouTube ad, and that's what Google AdSense runs. Now, this is the most common income stream that people refer to when they talk about YouTube. And some people think it's the only way that YouTubers really make any money, which for a lot of smaller channels actually doesn't represent a whole lot of money. For really big channels, it can represent a ton of money. There really is a wide spectrum. So how this works is companies pay Google to run ads here on YouTube, who then place those ads at various points in the video. It could be in the beginning of the video, in the middle of a video, and even at the end of the video. And whatever ad you're seeing, maybe on this video or another, is targeted to you, or I guess more specifically, whatever Google account your browser recognizes. Whoa. And also, if you're wondering, myself as the creator has absolutely no influence on what ads they run. All I do is check a box saying put ads or don't put ads. And the final revenue stream that I take advantage of is sponsorships and endorsements. Now, this one is pretty self-explanatory. This usually represents a paid ad that I place within a video, most commonly in the mid-roll, which is different than the automatic ads that Google places here on YouTube. These sponsorship and endorsement arrangements are made between myself and a company, usually with a contract. And like I mentioned before, I lean pretty hard into the sponsorship category for this past year in 2021, so we'll see how that pans out in the numbers. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. I'm gonna break down each one of the revenue streams we just talked about and show you the real income numbers, which roll up into the total at the end. All right, goods and merchandise. In 2020, my channel made $44,745. In 2021, I made $91,396. This represents a staggering 104% growth over last year. Now, this is pretty much all from Etsy. And it's also worth mentioning that that's the take-home pay from Etsy after they remove shipping fees, taxes, and listing fees. My total sales on Etsy were actually just over $105,000 for the year. It's also important to point out that there's usually a cost associated with selling goods, especially physical goods. The accountants like to call this the cost of goods sold. Now, luckily, in my case, the majority of the items that I sell on Etsy are digital items. So in theory, they have a $0 cost of goods sold. Now, I'll talk more about my time at the end of the video, because you could argue that's the cost for a digital item. But the actual total cost of goods sold from an accounting perspective was only $4,772. This is compared to $2,893 from the previous year. So the costs are extremely low and the profit margin is still really good. And I'm not even sure it's worth a side note, but the Teespring shop where I sell t-shirts and stuff brought in a measly $445 of commissions to me. So like I said, pretty much all Etsy. All right, the next is affiliate marketing. In 2020, the channel made $41,993. In 2021, my channel made $46,244, which represents a 10% growth over last year. Again, this is mostly Amazon, and it's just pointing people to products or tools that I'm using or that would help them make their shop better. The next one is Google AdSense. In 2020, my channel made $21,634. In 2021, I made $40,847, which is a whopping 89% growth over last year. What's interesting to me here is that I basically doubled my AdSense revenue, but my total views versus last year were not a whole lot different. And I've chalked this up to two things. The first one, my average view duration is higher this year than last year. And the second is that the RPM, or revenue per milli, which in layman's terms means income per 1,000 views, typically goes up as a channel matures. Now, it doesn't go up indefinitely, but I'm still kind of on the uptick. So my average RPM last year compared to this year is higher, based on a lot of factors, but that average view duration is definitely one of them. And the final revenue stream is sponsorships and endorsements. In 2020, my channel made $7,588, and in 2021, I made $32,062. This represents a predictably huge 322% growth over last year. And that's a direct result of my all-in mentality on going after sponsorships for every single video. And then finally, when we tally up all of the revenue streams, in 2020, my channel made a total of $115,960. And in 2021, I made a total of $210,549, which represents an overall growth rate of 82% over last year. Really freaking cool. Now, if we break those four revenue streams up into percentages, goods and merchandise represents 44% of my income. And that's up from 39% last year. Affiliate marketing is about 22%, which is down from 36% last year. Google AdSense represents 19% of my income, which is dead even with what it was last year. And finally, sponsorships and endorsements represents only 15% of my income, which is way up from 6% of last year. Which kind of brings me back to the sponsorship discussion. Although dollars and percentage increased dramatically in that category, I think that my conclusion is still that it's really not worth pursuing in that way for me anymore. I'm also willing to accept that as my channel grows, the ad rates are going to get higher, which is going to make it more tempting to go get more sponsorships. But because this is just a side gig for me, I want to keep the stress as low as possible. So moving into 2022, I plan to work with less sponsors, and of the ones I work with are ones that I really enjoy working with, or I still have lingering contracts with. Listen, it goes without saying that I am insanely grateful for this opportunity. It's also really cool to see the culmination of many years of work finally come to fruition. But an important note, anytime we're talking about income, is that represents the top line revenue, underneath of which is all the expenses needed to run the business, in this case, a YouTube channel. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on my particular expenses because honestly, it's going to vary for a lot of people. But I just thought that was worth bringing up if we're going to keep things honest. And now finally, before we wrap up, I want to address a topic that was asked a lot after the last income video and is really just a common question I get. And that is, what about my time? How much time goes into making a video? How much time do you devote on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis to running a YouTube channel? And frankly, it's a really important topic to understand, so let's talk about it. Now, I don't keep track of the time I spend doing Shop Nation activities, but I did sit down and put together some estimates for how long I spend doing each thing and then kind of figuring out a total number of hours I devote per year. So from a video perspective, I think on average I spend anywhere from 20 to 25 hours producing one video. That includes planning, shooting, editing, uploading, and even optimizing. And of course that varies wildly with the topic and project, but I'd say that's probably a pretty decent average. So if we multiply that by the total number of videos I put out, which was 25, in the past year I spent anywhere from 500 to 625 hours producing those videos. That accounts for the video side of things, but in reality there's a lot of other activities that go on with running my particular YouTube channel. I spent a lot of times doing things like updating websites, doing graphic design, answering emails, creating plans, talking to sponsors, shipping, fulfilling orders, lots of stuff. So I would say in a given week, I spend anywhere from 10 to 18 hours doing those activities. So for the prior year, that means an additional 520 to 936 hours of my time. And if you add both those numbers together, that means I spent anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 hours of my time doing this stuff. Which, considering that the average full-time job is 2,080 hours, this is almost a second full-time job for me. If you want to get real specific, you can break that down to an hourly wage, at least for revenue, which would be somewhere between $140 and $210 per hour. And I know that all sounds really good, and believe me, it is. But keep in mind that what you're seeing is the culmination of 4 years of work. To put things in perspective, in 2019, just 2 years ago, I made a total of $25,000 for the entire year, doing the exact same amount of work. So doing the same math, we would arrive at about $20 an hour. All right, so in closing, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, my advice is just go for it. Just make sure you're ready to roll up your sleeves and work for it. It really is a slow buildup, but the momentum of consistency is key. I genuinely hope you learned something in this video. I love watching videos like this from other channels just because I'm just a naturally curious person. If there's anything that I did not cover in this video, please leave those in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, you can go watch my previous income breakdown videos to kind of show how everything compares. And finally, if you like shop greatness and building cool stuff, consider subscribing. We'd love to see you at the beginning of next year at the next income breakdown video. Thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. I will catch you guys on the next project, and until then, keep pursuing shop greatness.